What is going on, everybody? So I am back today to do another episode of the Criterion Corner. This is an episode where I talk about a film in the Criterion collection in great detail, recommend it, and just discuss my thoughts and opinions on it. I love doing this segment. I feel like I haven't got to do one of these in a while, and I'm really looking forward to today's episode because I love the Criterion collection, but this overlaps with something else I love, which is Shudder, the streaming service for horror fanatics. And this was a film that's actually a Shudder original that was put out on Shudder that also got picked up on the Criterion collection, which is incredible and exciting. And my friend Ray, that does the Film Monsters podcast with me, has recommended this movie to me over and over and over again, and I finally sat down and checked it out. And the movie I'm going to be discussing today is La Llorona. And no, this is not the Curse of La Llorona from the Conjuring universe. This is just La Llorona. It's a Guatemalan film that came out the same year, surprisingly enough, and we'll get into it right now. La Llorona is directed by Jairo Bustamante. Accused of the genocide of Mayan people, retired General Enrique is trapped in his mansion by massive protests. Abandoned by his staff, the indignant old man and his family must face the devastating truth of his actions and the growing sense of a wrathful supernatural force that is targeting them for his crimes. So I was really interested to see what this is going to be like because I know the lore and the story behind La Llorona. I saw the Conjuring universe movie, even though it sucked, but I know the story of La Llorona and where it comes from, and I was curious as to what the approach would be for this movie, and this is not at all what I expected. It's barely a horror movie. I feel like there are horror elements to it, but more than anything, this is the horrors of reality and real life with a little bit of like mystical lore sprinkled throughout it. And this movie is much more about like a government mistreating its people and the horrors of what politicians can do just because they're in a position of power and how they can misuse it and mistreat other people. And I liked elements of this movie. I will say I don't think it's perfect. I think it has some pacing issues. I think that it definitely could have been condensed even more than what it actually was. There's a lot of dialogue in the film that doesn't really contribute to the overall third act. And this movie's like an hour and 35 minutes or something. It's not super long. And I found myself being pulled out at moments because it started to get really repetitive. But obviously you have this political leader and he's being accused of these really horrible things, mass genocide, killing this entire group of people. There's like this really beautifully shot moment at the beginning where he's at trial. He's completely up in his own head. He doesn't think that he's done anything wrong, even though you can kind of get the feeling early on that he has. He lives at home with his family, his wife, and his daughter and her daughter, and so the whole thing is the family is being at the center of these protests and all these things happening because this guy is on trial, and their help all decides to leave the house. They don't want to work there anymore, and so the man decides like, hey, we need new help, and this girl shows up to the house who starts working there, and she becomes really close to the daughter, and you have some ideas early on that maybe she is La Llorona, at least in your head, and the story kind of takes off from there. So the first 40 minutes of this movie really is just build up. It's telling you the story, telling you about the genocide that was committed, telling you about this person and his actions and the way that he is. And then when this character is introduced who may or may not be La Llorona, that's when the supernatural elements start to take place. But it's not really anything overly supernatural. There's a couple of moments that are a little eerie and creepy and unsettling, but it's not anything super over the top, which is why I say calling this a horror movie it's pretty much a stretch. There are moments that feel sort of horror adjacent, but I never felt like I was sitting here thinking, okay, this is a horror movie. Like most of the time I was like, okay, this is a suspenseful political thriller that is telling you about this person who committed these horrible acts and just hopefully him getting the just desserts for the repercussions of his actions. And I do think the performances in this are all really good from top to bottom. Everyone does a really great job. The cinematography in this movie looks phenomenal. It's really outstandingly shot, really compelling to look at. I just think that maybe the story could have been trimmed down or some other elements could have been added into the film to make it more engaging, because I left the film thinking, okay, this was entertaining at moments, and I feel like the message and the story was was really powerful, but I think it could have been so much more than what it ended up being, which is disappointing, but I still enjoyed it, and I still think that it's cool that a film from Shudder is in the Criterion collection. So have you seen La Llorona? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was really entertaining for the most part. I think that it's really well shot. I think that it's really well performed. It's just missing something to make me love it. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.